Good morning to you on this first alert weather day. Right now, we're currently under a winter weather advisory for some of our higher elevated areas. This is the first time in a decade we've seen this here in the Bay Area. I'm going to break that down coming up in the full forecast.
Good morning, I'm Lauren Thompson, the Santa Cruz Mountains, where we are seeing snow on the ground. We will bring you an update on these conditions coming up.
I see snowball in our hand too. Plus, did you get your power back on finally? Thousands in the Bay Area are still in the dark this morning. We take a look at the latest outages we're seeing right now.
And then later, it is being called a crisis in the Mission District in San Francisco after the recent violence.
We as a community feel we're being neglected totally.
And we hear the concerns from the community and the push for change this morning.
But first, we have declared another first alert weather day as many of you still deal with the aftermath of that wind damage. Here comes the snow. This is brand new video just into the newsroom from the Lick Observatory just before midnight. You can see the conditions look quite frosty as snow is falling, coating the roads and buildings there, and you can see the cars covered too. More new video. This is off of Highway 17 in Los Gatos, less than 30 miles north of Santa Cruz, catching some of that residual snow. This was taken at around 2:30 this morning. You see Caltrans snowplows we're seen cleaning up the roads too. And there's more snow in parts of San Mateo County. Check it out. This is along Skyline Boulevard in La Honda last night. You can see it's only a thin layer of snow there. But First Alert meteorologist Jessica Birch is here with a closer look at why we called another first alert weather day and just how long this is going to last.
Yeah, you know, because we're already talking about it right now. We're only going to see more heading into the evening hours tonight. Let's take a quick look at the first alert Doppler this morning. It is a very active system sweeping its way in. Right now we're seeing hit or miss showers, but by late tonight, early tomorrow morning at this exact time, it's going to be a huge major storm that sweeps its way through. So take a look at this, zooming in just a little bit closer to Redwood City. We're currently seeing some rain there. Snow in those higher elevated areas just near Portola Valley. All the way up in Half Moon Bay, it's also wet right now too. So as we zoom in just a little bit further into that street level, Woodside, Skylonda, all the way into Menlo Park, it's currently wet as that storm sweeps its way through. Now, our weather headlines today are interesting, but expected with this winter storm. We're going to see a few showers, just like I mentioned, all throughout the morning today. They're hit or miss storms. But then once we head into the evening hours tonight and into the early morning hours tomorrow, that's when that heavy system sweeps its way through this major winter storm. We could see snow levels down to 1,500 feet. So long story short, as we zoom into Futurecast and take a look at the winds matching up with this storm, it's pretty gusty extending into the afternoon hours. Starting just into that 1 o'clock hour, we can see wind gust up to 15-20 miles per hour. Light scattered showers still here. It's really not until the evening hours tonight. Here we go, 5 o'clock tonight into that 7-8 o'clock hour. Even by 9, that's when that major storm sweeps its way through. Heavy pockets of rain expected in the North Bay, the East Bay, with some snow, like I said, topping off at 1,500 feet for those levels. We'll have more on that in a bit, but for now, over to you, Jocelyn.
All right, Jess, with that snow and rain, definitely want to be careful out on the roadways, and it is already busy out there. We've been talking about this accident on 880 all morning. It's because it's really creating some backups. This is southbound north of Hagenberger Road near Oakland. The two left lanes are still blocked on exit 36, so it's creating a backup, as you can see there. So if you're driving in this direction, expect delays. If we give you a live look here, things are moving a little bit more smooth here. Earlier, I would say about 15 minutes ago, you could really see the backup. So good news here on 880. Give you a quick look here at other main drive times. You can see it's about a 15-minute drive. You're going from Highway 4 over to the Maze. So overall, not too bad. Amanda.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It is a snow day in the Santa Cruz Mountains and people are enjoying the white blanket in their backyards. But it's not all smiles. Icy roads pose dangerous driving conditions. Let's take you live near Los Gatos in the Santa Cruz Mountains where Lauren Thompson is with us bright and early this morning. And Lauren, I want to know, how was your drive up to this area?
Yeah, Amanda, the drive to this area, I drove down from San Francisco this morning. It wasn't too treacherous on the way down, but the roads were definitely slick. And right now here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we are seeing some snowfall, but in about the last 30 minutes or so, it let up a bit. Last hour, we saw some pretty large chunks of snow, enough to stick to your jacket, to this microphone. But right now, we are seeing these conditions let up ever so slightly. But as I'm sure you can see, the snow is still coming down. But let's take a look at some of the scenes we saw overnight. snowfall in Los Gatos, again, just off of Highway 17, enough to put some snow plow crews to work. Right now on 17, we are still seeing these crews, but there's not quite enough snow for them to really collect too much. And just before midnight at the Lick Observatory, about 20 miles east of where we are right now, also saw some significant snowfall. But back here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, there are damp, wet, and very, very chilly conditions here. We're seeing more people on Highway 17 making their morning commute. We're seeing police crews out aiding people to get to where they need to be this morning. But if you don't have to leave the house, I would absolutely recommend going outside, taking a look at this snowfall that we're seeing, and maybe even making yourself a snowball. Amanda?
All right, we're about to have a snowball fight here at KPIX. Lauren, thanks so much. Meanwhile, Andrea Nakano was up in the Berkeley Hills where people are looking forward to the snow and looking back, taking a trip down memory lane.
We are at Grizzly Peak, which is at about 1,700 feet. This area is expecting some snow to fall in the next couple of days. The last flurry was in 2019, but it's actually a pretty rare event. The Berkeley Hills is home to Debbie Kendall.
I've lived here for 32 years.
Over the decades, she's seen snow flurries here and there, but the snowstorm in the 1970s is the one she remembers the most.
We had a substantial amount of snow up here. We'd probably had 3 inches or something.
Maybe not that much snow ahead, but there's a good chance the Berkeley Hills will see at least flurries this week and possibly a few inches of snow in the Grizzly Peak area. How much of it sticks will depend on the ground temperature.
I've lived in the Bay Area for 18 years, and there's only one other time that there was any sort of snow in the Bay.
Michelle Green doesn't mind the possibility of snow. She's a little worried about the impact on her vegetable garden and fruit trees, but it's the people she's most worried about. Berkeley has set up an emergency warming center at the North Berkeley Senior Center to get people out of the cold.
I'm worried about it for all the people who are outside or losing their heat, the bills that are going up because of the cost of natural gas and all that stuff. I think that's what I think about the most. Of it's already hard to live in the Bay Area, that it's going to add a extra little stress on folks.
And the stress of just getting down the snow-covered hills, Debbie Kendall remembers what that was like.
People drove down the hill that day and they had, snow in their cars and stuff. So that's the most snow I ever remember.
If the snow does stick, it's recommended that you stay off the roads. There's a potential for black ice, and there are a lot of steep grades in this area, especially on Marin Avenue.
And this morning, some places in the Bay Area are still dealing with the damage from the windstorms this week. Crews are fixing down trees and power lines. Now, here's a live look at PG&E's outage map. Utility crews are working this morning to restore power to thousands of customers. PG&E just released updated numbers. You can see a lot of that in the orange. More than 22,000 customers are in the dark across the Bay Area. Most of those outages, nearly 21,000, are on the peninsula. And there are about 1,400 in the South Bay. And stay with CBS News Bay Area for continuing first alert weather coverage all morning long. And remember, we're always on KPIX.com. Amanda.
Top stories now. A TV reporter in Central Florida is dead after being shot at the scene of another fatal shooting earlier in the day. A 19-year-old suspect in all of the shootings is now under arrest. Deputies say he wounded a news photographer during the second shooting. In addition, a woman and a 9-year-old girl were shot inside a nearby home. The little girl died from her injuries. A motive remains unclear, and our news community is with that reporter's family right now. The man accused of attacking the husband of Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi is due in court today. A state judge is expected to set a trial date. David DePape was shown on video hitting Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer last October. That was after he allegedly broke into the couple's home in San Francisco. DePape has pled not guilty to all state and federal charges, including attempted murder. The California Supreme Court says school districts cannot act on their own to require students to get vaccinated against COVID. A district in San Diego has been trying to do that since 2021, but has faced legal challenges. And yesterday, the state's high court left a lower court ruling in place, effectively saying vaccine requirements in schools can only come from statewide legislation. That's a look at your top stories. Meanwhile, Jocelyn, you're taking a look at some other stories on the Bay Area beat this morning.
Yeah, exactly, Amanda. We're going to talk about Oakland. It's on track to build 26,000 new homes over the next decade. California law requires all cities to submit plans that will accommodate more housing of all income levels between 2023 and 2031. More than 600 locations throughout the city have been approved for the new housing, mostly in the downtown area and West Oakland. And the city of Walnut Creek has ended a rule restricting single-use toilets in public spaces to one gender. The move was made to comply with the new state law requiring all gender restrooms in public facilities. Previously, people were banned from using toilets reserved for members of the opposite sex in city parks and open spaces. And a groundbreaking ceremony for a new behavioral health services center in San Jose. The center is located on the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center campus and will offer treatment for children, adolescents, and adults, which will allow for treatment to be carried across all stages of life and integrated with all the other services they offer.
Children and adults and adolescents, they need both the services together, which is integrated. And that's why this facility is such an important place, because it's right here in the heart of other medical facilities, so we can go and get all the treatment.
Well, the center is set to open in 2025.
Well, if the Bay is getting snow, of course, we're going to see a lot in the Sierra, and that means tough conditions on the roads. And we're expecting to see some of that snowfall making its way into lower elevations into the foothill communities. So let's get a check on our weather with First Alert Meteorologist Jessica Birch of just what we're looking at with that.
You know, it's crazy because this morning Warren's already seeing snow. To add to that, heading into this afternoon, all throughout the Bay Area, we're going to be seeing hit or miss storms, bringing in rain and plenty of moisture in those higher elevated areas. So let's get straight into our graphics right now. Starting off with our First Alert Doppler this morning, zooming in just a little bit closer to Redwood City. We're already starting to see some of that moisture just along Highway 35. I mean, snow up there as it sweeps all the way down into those lower elevated areas. Back in San Francisco, cloudy conditions right now, temperatures mostly ranging in the 30s and 40s just near Oakland, 20s right now in Santa Rosa. And now heading into this afternoon, I really want to time the storm out for you. It's very important to keep this in mind. If you're a late evening commuter or if you do have plans in those overnight hours, take a look at this. Extending all the way into this afternoon by 2 o'clock, there's still hit or miss showers. It's nothing crazy just yet, but this major winter storm is moving in from the north, and yes, it is going to be bringing in plenty of moisture into those overnight hours. Starting around 7:30, we see some of those bands sweep their way in. This is really convective, meaning we could see some lightning activity with this storm sweeping in. To add to that, we're also going to see it into those overnight hours. This is now by 10 o'clock, sweeping off into the east just by 2 a.m. For our early morning commuters tomorrow, for those who have to get to work around 5, 6, 7 a.m., take a look at this. Yes, that system is dying down, but it will still be windy, a wind advisory sticking around. And then to add to that, we're also going to be dealing with plenty of slick roads in those higher elevated passes anywhere along those highways. Highway 17 is a good example. We just talked about 35. That's where we're seeing the biggest issue when it comes to this accumulated snow. And there is a winter storm warning in effect starting later this afternoon all throughout Friday to keep you warned and prepared. Take a look at the totals that we're expecting just in our local mountain ranges. To add to that, I will say this is the first time in over 10 years that the National Weather Service here in the Bay Area has issued one of these, which is wild to think about, but we do need to be prepared. As we take a look at our model data, so far we're expected to see about an inch just accumulating near Boulder Creek and even off into the Lexington Hill area. It'll be a beautiful sight to see for our friends who can see the Mount Hamilton range just extending into our Saturday forecast once all that snow settles. It's less impressive for our Mount Diablo friends who can see that. However, the more north we go, the more snow we get. We're expected to see about 19, even 20 inches just near Bonneview accumulating over the next couple days. And for the rest of us at those lower level areas, can't forget about you. We're still expecting moisture. We're expecting close to a half an inch just near Kentfield. More impressive numbers just south of the Golden Gate Bridge, all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley, close to an inch throughout the next couple days. So it makes sense why we issued a first alert weather day today and tomorrow, right? That overnight storm will stick around for us, and then it dies down heading into Friday evening into early Saturday morning, but then more rain on the way for us heading into next week. So we'll keep you updated on that. Temperatures will remain pretty chilly into next week. Over to you, Jocelyn.
Yeah, Jess, it is cold out there, and just like you said, we have to be prepared here.
Right.
All right.